Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this session with our staff network leads in Leeds City Council. Today is a National Day for Staff Networks, and this is a national day which celebrates the role of our staff networks across organisation and sectors, including the public sector. This year's theme is Togetherness for the Networks Day, and we thought it'd be a great idea to bring together all our network leads who have played a key role, particularly over the past year. And I think we can all agree that the last year has been a challenging year for our workforce. We also thought it would be a good opportunity to reflect on the challenges and achievements over the past year, but also to speak to a commitment we are reiterating here today, which we'll talk to later. So before we get into the conversation, I will ask everyone to, first of all, introduce themselves and which network they are representing. I will go first. I am Wasim Feroz. I am the chair of Leeds City Council's Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Staff Network. Kat, I'll hand over to you next.
Hi, I'm Kat Denver, she, her. I'm the chair of the LGBT+ staff network for the council. I'm going to hand over to Lisa.
Tilly Pycroft, chair of the Dawn Network, Disability and Wellbeing Network. Obviously, you have to bear with me. Got a speech impediment.
Hi, I'm Helen Saunders. I'm the chair of the Healthy Minds Network.
Hi, I'm Georgia Young. I am joint lead of the new staff interfaith network. We're in the process of being established. So we have a prayer group on Facebook, and we're just becoming a staff network.
Hi, I'm Lisa Banton. I'm the chair of the Women's Voice Staff Network.
And I'm Jade Whitaker, and I'm the co-chair of the Early Careers Network.
Medj.
Hi, I'm Medj. I'm the lead for the Carers Staff Network.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. I thought I'd mention also that Hannah, who leads our age-friendly network, couldn't make it today, but she's played a key role as well in supporting our partnership over the past few months. So let's get straight into the conversation. As I mentioned at the start, this year's theme for National Day for Staff Networks is Togetherness. So I thought I'd kind of kickstart the conversation by asking a few colleagues to really talk to what that theme means to them. So can I start with you, Lisa?
Thanks, Wasim. Yeah, for me, togetherness means coming together to support each other, to share ideas, knowledge and resources. And I think an excellent example this year has been the way the staff networks have come together, pulled together. And certainly as a new chair of staff network, I feel very supported by all the networks, particularly around some of the key events like International Women's Day, to which we all contributed.
Thank you. That partnership working, I know, has been a key element of kind of our approach this year, which has been really strengthened. Kat, I'll come over to you next. What does togetherness mean to you?
Yeah, I think togetherness is really crucial in the sort of work that we do, both as sat nav partnerships, as staff networks, and as an organisation as a whole, because really the power in what we do, in everything that we do, is about the things that we share together as opposed to things that are different. And really it's actually that our strengths are actually in some of the differences between us, and it's about acknowledging and accepting that and educating people. And that's really what makes us more engaged, more dynamic, more powerful in everything that we do. So to me, that's really the real power of togetherness.
Great, thank you, Kat. And it's about also, I think, celebrating that diversity you mentioned there as well. Medj, what does togetherness mean to you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, the Carers Network is a small network, and I think what's been really good for us is that we've been able to share ideas with the other networks and actually learn from them. Everyone's at different stages in terms of how long they've been running, how big or small they are, and I think it's those shared experiences and that collaboration that's really helped. we are quite unique in the organisation, and it's, you know, who do you turn to? And I think there's strength in the networks and in our collaboration and partnership, both as networks, but I think also in terms of the power we have within the organisation to be able to help influence policies and the way things, you know, the experience for staff.
Thanks, Meg. And I think we've definitely shown, certainly over the past year, the kind of influence our partnership as well as individual networks we've had in terms of the strategic direction of the organization. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go on to the next question because we touched on it in this in the previous answers, but I just want to speak to the point a bit further. So, you know, as staff networks, obviously we think we add a huge amount of value, but I really thought it was important for us to kind of just speak to that point as well. So kind of my next question is really, how do you think staff networks in the council add value to creating that inclusive organization we are so committed to? So to start off with that one, Terry, I'm going to hand over to you. How do you think we add value as networks within the council?
Well, I think, Wazim, that we as a network, we kind of we share, we educate, obviously we inform using the Facebook and all the communications. I know we've obviously got active involvement as well into CLT, and obviously support some of the direction from CLT. We all have a lot of input on PALS as well, on the PALS system, training and education for staff and managers. And I think we're all there as an opportunity for people to either to join us, or we also had support network for managers and supervisors when they get maybe questions they don't know how to answer or want some help and assistance on that.
Thanks for that, Terry. And I thought you mentioned a really important point there. It's not, we don't just support our network members, we also support our colleagues as well who are supporting staff within their local services. Yeah. So, and I know Dawn's done a huge amount of work on that. So thanks for that, Terry. I'm going to bring in Helen next. So how do you think kind of our staff networks have added value in the council?
I think, working together as a whole, you know, all the staff networks has brought more value in the past year to the organisation. More support we've got, you know, we're giving out, like Terry said, more education, more training. We've really pulled together, which I love the fact that, you know, we've pulled together. And I think the organisation as a whole have seen that. So I think I'm wanting to be, you know, part of the staff networks now. From sort of like my staff network, I offer peer-to-peer support for people in the organisation, obviously on their mental health and to make things positive for them and to educate, like Terry's just said, and make sure that we are supporting the organisation as a whole.
Thanks for that, Helen. Definitely agree with that. And I kind of just speaking to that point in terms of the BAME staff networks experience over the past year, just with not just with COVID, but also with those wider inequality issues which came to the fore, particularly in 2020. I think we've highlighted how much value we can add actually as a staff network. And I think probably for me, the most important element in terms of what we have done over the past year is amplify the voices of our Black, Asian and minority ethnic staff and shared their lived experiences, but created a safe space to share their experiences, but not to do just the listening, but also responding to that with kind of tangible quality outcomes that make a difference to their experience within the council. And I'll perhaps come on to some of the things we've done over the past year later, but I think what we all do actually really well is creating those spaces where people can share their lived experiences, which is so critical in terms of the work we're doing around inclusivity. This is a question in terms of the next one for everyone. So we've reflected on some of the strong stuff we do in terms of value and working together, but I want to just kind of look at your kind of individual networks and for you to kind of share that, you know, it's not always positive. There are some challenges as well, but I wanted to reflect on two of those. So, and I'm really kind of pushing, and I know it'll be a bit of a struggle here, but let's see what we come up with. So what is the one challenge you've experienced in the past year, as well as the one achievement that you're proud of delivering as a network in the past year? I'm going to start off with Kat on that one.
I sense that was coming, like Emma Waters. I think in some ways it's difficult to sort of narrow it down to like one challenge that and I think probably everybody else felt the same. One challenge we faced over the year, like we could literally just say COVID and be done with it. But I think that like things came beyond that, and also like the Black Lives Matters movement, I think really made all of us as networks really sort of consider all the sort of the real intersectional approaches of like all our work. Like it's difficult being a Black person, an Asian person, but it's more complicated, you know, being a Black woman or an Asian woman or minority ethnic. If you're, you know, or if you're a person from a religious background who's also LGBT, or you're a carer of mental health issues, or all of these things together. And actually, I think really one of the challenges has been trying to get to grasp with all that sort of really subtle work. But that's where some of the really impactful work has sort of come from. And actually, I think probably for all of us this year, one of the challenges has been trying to learn at pace and sort of to try and think wider, as opposed to just, you know, people with disabilities or people like women. We've tried to think really outside the box, and actually considering we do all this really as passion. To that, like the difficulty has been sometimes I felt not being able to give as much myself to it as I want to. I could honestly do this all day. I think that's the real, is that you really want to make the organization better, and the challenge has been sometimes not being able to give as much as you really know you could. So for me, I think that was my challenge. In terms of a positive this year, like I thought about this last night. There's so many that we could talk about. I could talk about National Inclusion Week, which almost did all of us in, but it was a completely joyous experience at the end of it. Like we all had each other's backs, we were communicating, we worked together, we produced some really fantastic stuff for it. We had some really good conversations, we engaged people across the city, we delivered our own sessions. It was just phenomenal, like really. But even beyond that, there's so much work that's come out of that then has influenced the rest of the year. And so I think that for me was one of them, but the reason that was so impactful was because of the work we got to do together, and actually how engaging and embracing all of us were in driving things forward.
Thanks for that, Kat. And definitely, I think all of us have had an experience during National Inclusion Week, which we won't forget, but it was definitely worth it considering the response we had to the events we put together. And I think that other point as well you mentioned there around intersectionality has been so important in terms of the work we've been doing together, and recognizing those different lived experiences and how different parts of your identity impact you as an individual. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to come to you, Jade, next. One achievement and one challenge over the past year.
I guess one challenge as a network that we've come across is obviously being able to reach frontline staff and people working from home. I think one of the tricks that we have as a network missed is reaching to staff around development, because I think it could have been a great opportunity for employees to do further development whilst people are working from home. Obviously capacity dependent, but I do think that's something that's one, I guess, challenge we've had as a network, not being able to adapt to that. One achievement, I guess, in the last year is, even though we've had that kind of challenge with, you know, just taking over the network, our network is getting out into the market, so to speak, and reaching out to more employees, and and we're gaining more members to the network, which is a real positive. And I know both myself and Sasha are really passionate about marketing, not just our network, but also other networks, and being able to point different people to different networks if we can't provide that support. So I guess, yeah, and also I guess working with the other networks, as well as Kat said, you know, working with other networks to working together in relation to events and things like that.
Thanks for that, Jade. And definitely, I think that challenge speaks to all the staff networks in terms of reaching frontline staff. I mean, I know we're all trying to find creative ways of reaching as many staff as we can, particularly those on the front line. I'm going to come to you next, Georgia. One challenge, one achievement over the past year.
Hi. So as I said at the beginning, we are not yet a fully fledged staff network, and I've been thinking about establishing one for a few years now because my faith is very important to me. However, capacity has always been an issue, and I suppose one of the challenges that is a challenge I know we all face, and Kat touched on this, is that when you become a staff network, then with your manager's agreement and so on, you are allocated some amount of your working time to do this, but actually to get up and running and become a network, which can be quite a lot of energy and time, you're doing it in your own time, really. And particularly I think creating a network or creating a staff group within this kind of restricted living world where we were all going through a great deal of change. It's been a great achievement what we've done, but it's been a challenge as well, because everybody, me and other people involved in the group, were going through a huge amount of change as well, and workloads were not necessarily reducing, or we were sat around baking banana cake and twiddling our thumbs. I work in health and care, so we were super busy. So I think capacity is probably one of the biggest challenges, not just, I know from the other networks, not just when you're starting up, but actually to keep going and to sustain your networks and so on. So I suppose really for those of people who are listening to this, we would really, really love for you to get involved with all of the networks. And actually, the more people get involved, the less work there is for everybody to do. So for our network, for example, we're doing things like we have a Facebook group, and that's where we exist at the moment. So just people taking turns to post about different faith events or festivals, or someone posts, I pick up Christianity and Judaism, someone else picks up on Muslim, somebody else picks up on sort of paganism, etc., etc. So there can be really small ways that you can help and contribute and be involved, and I think that really actually results in greater satisfaction for people who are part of the group, but also it really strengthens them as well. All these networks are about giving staff a voice in the organisation, and you can have that voice through us, but also for yourselves by getting involved as well. And
thanks, Georgia.
That's it. Thank you.
Sorry, I was just going to say that you just mentioned a really important point there, which I think is, a lot of this, well, all of this is in our voluntary time. Staff networks are often fueled by those dedicated volunteers who, put a huge amount of time and effort to really create those opportunities, as you say, for our staff to share their views, and for us to actually raise those with our senior leaders or whoever. So I think it's a really important point that we need to reflect. But as you say, it's great if people can also get engaged and volunteer. You can contribute in small ways as well, which make a huge difference overall. Lisa, what are your thoughts on your kind of challenges and achievements over the past year?
So same, I think I'm going to be echoing what colleagues have already said, really. I mean, we were aware of the digital divide and the challenge colleagues have around digital inclusion before COVID, and I think COVID's really highlighted that. Keeping the momentum going and keeping recruiting new members during that time has been a challenge, but we have managed to achieve that, and again that's thanks to colleagues across all the networks. There has been a bit of change in who's participating, but the numbers are increasing. And we are trying to find new and creative ways of engaging people, and I think the more events that we have and the more we can achieve that intersectionality around people's identity and people's beliefs, then the stronger we'll be as a group of networks. But yeah, some particular achievements this year have been things like the mentoring programme that Women's Voice have led on, but with support from the other staff networks. So we've been able to identify colleagues who are most in need. So women from a Black, Asian and minority ethnic background, early careers staff, and carers have joined us as well. And we've done quite a lot of really successful matching between mentors and mentees, which we know is a really critical form of support and to help with career development as well. So really pleased with that. And we've delivered a few career confidence workshops as well. And a lady got in touch with me this morning to say that she'd got a new job. So really nice to hear that feedback and to know that some of the support that we're offering is having an impact where we want it to.
I think that just perfectly demonstrates the power and influence of our networks. That's great. And I know kind of the joint work, the BAME network and the Women's Voice Network have done, particularly around that key priority around career progression and development, has been really valuable. So thank you for that. Terry, you're next. One challenge, one achievement over the past year.
Nice, easy one, this one for me. The challenge was when COVID hit and we got the Skype system or what have you, and when you've got people hard of hearing and poor sight, and having, while you want to offer more and you want to have more informal meetings and conversations just to make sure people are included, you're actually excluding more people. So that became a real issue right at the start of COVID. That really was prominent in the network, and thankfully this is where I think the network achievement that we did from that, obviously with the hard of hearing and Howard, who's left the authority since, but we managed to influence Neil and IT to pick up the Teams rollout and kind of really emphasised inclusion, because Teams offers so much more to those individuals, and you can have captioning on there and everything else. So I think we were quite instrumental in kind of helping speed that up. So I think that's one of my nice easy ones, I think, to answer that one.
Thank you for that. And again, it just demonstrates kind of the value of having that kind of source of intelligence and information at your staff network level and influencing that at an organization level, making a massive difference to colleagues in the organization. Medj, do you want to come in next about your kind of challenge and a positive from the past year?
Definitely, thank you. So the carers staff network, I suppose the past 12 months have been really hard for carers, our colleagues who are, kind of also have caring responsibilities, because a lot of the support that they got kind of disappeared, with COVID. And, you potentially had households where, they're working from home, they've got caring responsibilities for someone, but also children, and how do they kind of, manage all that while still continue working? And so I think that's been a challenge in terms of being able to reach carers, being able to have those conversations to help support them and help them kind of deal with the anxiety and stress of trying to juggle all these plates and still do a good job at work and not feel that they're underperforming or not being able to do what they're required to do. And I think obviously we've had HR support there, we've had the council support there in being very flexible this past year, but it's about those individual situations and being able to help and support those. And that was a challenge of actually making sure that carers knew that, as a network, we were here to support them, help them talk through and explore the options and how best they could kind of do all that and still feel like that they were valuable and contributing. And it's very surprising, it just takes one person and how difficult that situation can be, but if you find a solution, it can make a massive difference to their life, to their stress level and just their general well-being. So I think that's been a challenge in terms of reaching, and colleagues have already mentioned, in terms of the digital divide, and we've all been learning, how to use all the technology. In terms of, this would be a challenge / also an achievement, I think, is what the carers passport. It's something the Carers Staff Network wanted to introduce more than a couple of years ago, and we drafted it and it went back and forth, and the momentum for it picked up just before COVID because regionally work was being done, and we're now at the point where it's gone through with the trade unions, it's been agreed, and hopefully in the next month or so it will be launched. And just to kind of explain what that is, the carers passport is basically a document where you can share your circumstances, share any reasonable adjustments, any flexible working arrangements that are put in place. as an employee, you own that document and you can take it to your new manager, you know, if your job changes. So you don't have to go through everything again and again, just, you know, to get to a certain point, and it just helps. And I'll just flag for Terry, but there is also at the same time similar work on the disability passport, and again, you know, because they do overlap, as we've said, everything overlaps, you know. We're not in silos, so yeah, that's been great. It's been a hard slog, but we're there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary John. Well done on getting the carer's passport kind of developed. It's going to make a huge impact, I'm sure of it. And actually, you mentioned the importance role staff networks play in terms of supporting colleagues in terms of their health and well-being. And it's probably a good segue to kind of speak to Helen here, because your Healthy Minds Network does a huge amount of work in this area. So I'd be interested in your thoughts in terms of what one challenge and what one achievement you've had over the past year, Helen.
I think the challenge for me was I took over as chair last January, so it was like, yep, that's okay, brilliant, you know. And then obviously COVID hit, and it was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I think the challenge was getting things online and getting people to attend those sessions, because, you know, some people just like to listen to them, some people, you know, talk and whatever. And then it was another challenge. How do we get these out to the wider council? So there's not only like 30 people, 40 people on a call. So we've decided to link them to the Leeds City Council Facebook page. So we put them on there now. So we're getting like over 1,000 views. So people can watch the Healthy Mind sessions at their leisure, you know, if they haven't got time to do that. Achievement, well, that is an achievement in itself as well, also a challenge, but I think achievements have been the how you feeling sessions for me. I've had, you know, I do a how you feeling for staff, how you feeling for managers, you know, how you feeling for school staff as well, and we also do a how you feeling for frontline staff, and you know, we've had people saying that they've been that lifeline during COVID. You know, people working from home need that little bit of support, you know, they need somewhere to go and have a chat. And so I think that's been my biggest achievement. And also I think working with all the other networks, because we did do a lot of work together last year, and I think working with all the other networks, that's a major achievement as well.
Thank you for that, Helen. And definitely, I mean, just from a personal perspective, your sessions that the Healthy Minds group has kind of led have been really helpful for me as well. So thank you for that. You've made a huge contribution over the past year and longer. I think just listening to you all, probably the challenges are going to be the same in terms of communications and adapting to this new kind of changing environment. I think one of the things that was really important for me was for the technology to not be a barrier in terms of our colleagues sharing their lived experiences. We've had so many colleagues bravely share their experiences of racial discrimination in our sessions that we've held as a network, and you know, it's really tough reliving some of that trauma of those previous experiences. And I'll be honest, I was slightly worried that we couldn't get that connection we needed with colleagues in those sessions if they were sharing something so personal and so emotional. But they've bravely shared those. They've, you know, whether that's through anonymized testimonies or whether that's within our network sessions, and it's made a huge difference in terms of informing the work we made. There's a lot of barriers still in place. You know, we need to do more as a network in terms of reaching those frontline staff and engaging with those. We've created a Facebook group just like the Interfaith Network over the past year, and that's made a difference, but we know we've got more to do, and we will be working on that over the next few months and years to come to reach as many staff as possible, because I think we all recognize we all don't reach the majority of the groups within you know, the staff we represent, and some staff may not want to be involved, and that's fine, but there's also some staff who would, you know, feel really valuable in terms of having a network to support them. So we'll continue to work on that. I think in achievements, I'm like everyone, where do I start? Over the past year, we've had a really eventful and you know, it's felt like a really challenging but really great developments on this agenda. And I think the one thing I'm extremely proud of is, and I think I speak for everyone here, that we don't just do this alone. We've got a collective group of volunteers who support us as network leads, and without them we couldn't do and make the progress we've made. And I've had a really strong, dedicated steering group members who volunteered during a really difficult period last year and have really supported the network in progressing. And that's led to that strong senior leadership endorsement and engagement of improving the experiences of our BAME staff through the BAME action plan. And with that, we've created a strengthened risk assessment tool. So our Black, Asian and minority ethnic staff at high risk from COVID, that conversation is now happening with their managers around considering the BAME element in terms of the concerns around that, and ensuring that our staff are supported and protected. And that's really made a huge difference, and that work continues, working with head of health and safety, HR and trade union colleagues as well. So that's been a strong achievement. But I also think on top of that, we've had the joint statement from Tom on behalf of the organisation, our political leaders, who have really committed to making a significant change on this agenda and moving forward with developing a long-term BAME action plan. So there's so much work we've done over the past year, but I think at the core of that is that collaboration and co-production, which has really made a massive difference and actually shown the potential change that we can make if we all work together collaboratively and co-produce the solutions with the very communities they're going to impact. So hopefully that work will continue moving forward. And I know we've got that commitment from our senior leaders and from the network as well. So thank you for that, everyone. That's been really useful, and you know, it's just great in terms of the great progress that's been made in a challenging period. Just to finish off,
sorry, I'm going to go off script a bit here. I think also something else that sort of, you know, as I was reflecting as you were talking, Wassim, and as everybody else was talking, I think something that maybe we haven't sort of highlighted as much. I think, yes, absolutely, our steering groups are phenomenal people, and you know, really some of the work we couldn't have done what we could have done without those people being involved, and that really, you know, they've been the ones that have helped us drive things forward, so we've had the capacity. But I think also there's the real power that's come from us together as a partnership. I think really having the ability to talk through as people and as chairs, like the difficulties we've personally experienced during the time of it. We've picked up the things for each other whenever people have needed it. Like if one of us has agreed something then it doesn't have capacity, like there's a real, like actually like a net of support around us. Like I have no fear that if I need somebody from the partnership to pick something else, or I need support with things, I know that support is there, and that is completely invaluable. Like I really have felt the sort of the trust because of the shared drivers we all have. Like we all have different experiences, we all have different sort of agendas through our networks we're focusing on, but together as people, like the core thing that we're focused on is so intrinsically to who we are that you know, that's just been, it's been so powerful to see, and it's been really genuinely quite touching to sort of work with people who've gone, no, don't worry about this, don't stress, we can help with these sorts of pieces of work. And yeah, I guess I want to take an opportunity while we did this to sort of thank everybody in the partnership for, you know, what we've done as a partnership so far and what we're going to do in the future.
Thank you. Definitely echo that, Kat. And I think it's clear that you know, our partnership is stronger than ever, and we've really made a huge difference. And I think that will definitely continue. And as you say, just on a network leads level, just sharing kind of any challenges, any kind of experiences we have has been really helpful, and sharing best practice amongst us as well, which has been really great. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's a really important point to highlight. Just in terms of kind of the final question, we have had conversations before this session, and we've thought about National Day for Staff Networks and reiterating our commitments, and we've made a collective pledge and agreed a pledge that as staff networks, we pledge to offer representation to all our members of our diverse workforce. And we thought that kind of representation point was really important to emphasize our continued commitment on this agenda. And I just wondered whether Georgia, you could first kind of speak to that pledge we've made and why we've chosen that key point around representation to highlight.
Yeah, I've just actually received some information from HR about sort of the spread of different faiths across the organisation, and you know, how many proportions of people who've declared a faith and none. So from a faith perspective, I know that my faith is very important to me, and felt that we didn't have a voice in the organisation. And the council are very good at engaging with faith organisations in the city, but not necessarily internally with staff. So I recognised there was a gap there. And when COVID hit, I prayed. You know, that was that was my response. This is bigger than me. I need to pray. And I thought, actually, other people will be praying. And for me, whatever the situation, whatever you believe, whatever your walk is in life, whatever you're facing, whether times are good or bad, it's always better to do it together. You know, it's always better when you share the highs, the lows, and just the everyday. You know, I went to the supermarket today and I bought. So I thought, right, now is the time. We need something. So I got permission, created our Interfaith Facebook group, really focused around prayer. And what's interesting looking at that membership compared to what the council data says is that we actually represent or have members in a small group, so we're only about 50 staff at the moment. A large number of different faiths are represented. When you look at the stats, by far the greater majority of the staff who've declared are Christian. And then everything else is relatively small numbers in terms of numbers of people. But actually, for me, the fact that we have pagans, we have Buddhists, we have Jewish people, we have Muslims, I think we've got some Sikhs as well. And so we've got a broad range. And I think for me, that shows just how important faith is to people and how important it is to come together to share and learn from each other and support each other. And it doesn't matter if what I believe is different to what you believe. Ultimately, we all want to improve the world we live in. We all want to improve the lives of other people. And I imagine if you ask many council staff, that's why we work for the council. That's why we work for the public sector. We don't get, you know, bonuses, pension bonuses or cars and holidays and all sorts of things that other staff are rewarded with if they do really well at work. We come because we want to serve people and we want to help. And I think as networks, we're there to serve each other, to support the council to achieve what it wants to achieve, but to support each other. So that's why I'm signed up to the pledge.
Thank you so much for that, Georgia. I think that perfectly sort of captures one of the key elements of why we've highlighted representation. And I think it speaks to that point as well, doesn't it, about the role of staff networks and the inclusion agenda in terms of supporting our colleagues to bring their whole authentic selves to work, and that's all parts of their identity. And you know, all of us play a key role in sort of supporting that key element of our inclusive approach in the organization. Jade, I'm going to give you the kind of last word in terms of why we've chosen representation to highlight in terms of our collective pledge. Is there anything you want to add to what George has mentioned?
I guess not really. I guess in relation to the pledge, it's about ensuring staff have that support mechanism and feeling that they can join the network and feel safe. You know, come to an open forum and have discussion, you know, have a safe discussion around experiences and being able to provide that support mechanism to them, especially in the last year with COVID. And I think it's important to represent, to listen to the staff and harness that to the senior leadership around experiences and ensuring that we improve ways of working. And I think it's really important that we do have I think it's really good and positive the fact that we do have representation and different staff networks to enable that.
Yeah, that's such a key point. With that kind of diversity of our communities comes that diversity of experience and diversity of views, which is so crucial to informing, as you say, the organization. And I think it enables, actually, as you say, the organisation to respond more effectively to the concerns of our staff when we can share those diverse experiences. So definitely agree with that. Well, we've come to the end of this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions. It's been really helpful. Hopefully, to those who are watching this video, we've been able to demonstrate the value, the strong value that as staff networks we bring. And as others have said in this session, you know, you're welcome to join the networks, whether that's in a small or large way. We welcome everyone. We're an inclusive networks, and yeah, we will continue our commitment to ensure that we are creating spaces for our diverse communities, and as we've just ended there, representing the different views and different experiences and raising those with our decision makers and making that real difference to the experiences of all staff across the organization. So with that, thank you, everyone. I hope you can see the kind of great work we've done, and yeah, stay engaged with our networks. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Marcy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.